another target for Trump has been big law firms. He's issued executive orders to punish firms who have represented opponents, and he's revoked security clearances and banned lawyers from federal buildings. He's directed the Justice Department to sanction lawyers and firms who engage in what he called unreasonable and vexatious litigation against the government. Several prominent firms have made deals with President Trump to provide pro bono work on causes he favors. 4 firms have sued him over his actions. So, Ty, does big law, do these firms have a responsibility to fight against these deals or against this sort of crackdown to protect the legal system?
Yeah, well, yes. I think I think there have been over 100 executive orders or something. And of all of those, I think what he has done to these big law firms is close to the top of the most illegal. The most illegal. It clearly is against the First Amendment, and it's extortion. It is literally extortion that they're doing against these. And in fact, when it goes through the court system, the courts have upheld the law firms. But these 10 law firms, I think that I'm counting so far, have bent the knee. I think this is a catastrophe for the legal profession. It shows that they are really after money and only money. And the ones that have done this, I think led by Paul Weiss, that law firm, has just been extraordinarily bad. And the fact that they are now saying that we're just going to spend $1 billion of pro bono money on whatever Trump says, it shows that it is a catastrophe for the legal profession. And I worry that they're going to look back in 10 or 20 years from this and say, we lost our way. And this is even worse, I think, for the law profession than the Red Scare was.
Have they lost their way?
You know, it's hard to argue with what Ty says here. And that's what I keep coming to is why are they doing this? And the only answer is that it is all about money. And how can that be? I said a moment ago about the court, the law firms are literally participating in the destruction of the system that is their lifeblood. And my big question is, what leads these firms to believe that this is going to be the end of it, right? Once you bend the knee, as you say, what is the theory about that the president is going to stop coming back to them time and time again, asking for more and more? We saw this week that Harvard said enough, right? And we'll see how long Harvard holds out in its, fight back regarding the executive order there. But, and again, the concern that I read that the Heritage Foundation, for example, has already written to all these law firms saying, hey, here's a case for you. Why don't you do this? And the reporting was that some of these firms have actually met with or are scheduling meetings with the Heritage Foundation. So
we know what those cases are?
No, but it's going to be, it's going to be whatever pet conservative project that they want these firms to work on. And that, by the way, is not the traditional definition of what pro bono legal services are, right?
I share your deep concerns about the rule of law and democracy, no doubt. I guess I'm a little more sensitive to the realities that these people face. Part of me, as someone who engages government and politics, is very pragmatic. And these people have to make decisions for the well-being of their employees, their shareholders, as well as the collective interest of society. So I think it can be easy for someone like me who is not in this world and do not have the management responsibility and do not have to make these decisions to say to these law firms or Harvard or anybody else that's under assault, you should do more, you should fight it, you should risk your company, your employees, everything else for the greater good. So I don't disagree with that argument, but personally I find it hard to make it full-throated because these are difficult decisions that people have to make, and some pragmatism can be merited.
Well, and I've tried to go there, right? And I've been on the other side, I've been on your side of this argument with other people, right, who have made the argument I just made. But again, I keep coming back to why do they think it's going to end here? And I worry that what this is really about is intimidation, intimidating, not just big, but medium and small firms who are going to be unwilling to take cases challenging the administration's activities. So I guess my worry is that this is much less about $40 million or $100 million in free pro bono services, and more about sort of squashing dissent broadly against the administration.
And if firms are reluctant to take on a case, the other side of that is, of course, people who everyone's entitled to a defense, right? They may have trouble getting a firm to represent them.
Well, right, because again, this administration it's an extortionate. It's an extortion racket. And because it's an extortion racket, particularly for these big law firms, they make so much money. I mean, I don't know, partners making $5, $6, $8 million a year. And that's what these are. This isn't Columbia, which is going to have to lay off, hundreds of people that are making a small amount of money. These are the wealthiest law firms in the country that are doing this. And they're sending a message to so many people saying, listen, you just can't fight this. But there are people fighting. So
right.
Sussman Godfrey is fighting, and they're the ones who represented Dominion in that. They're fighting. Wilmer Cutler's fighting. Jenner and Block. Perkins Coie is fighting. So we should say, hey, listen, it's not as though everybody's doing this. There are 4 that are brave enough to be doing this. And the more that do that, the more likely they are to win. And they are winning. That's the other thing.
But the ones that are fighting it, they're also dealing with the other firms who are trying to purge their employees, and they're taking their clients because the clients are getting scared. So I guess to the extent that I will enthusiastically criticize these firms is work together, particularly during these trying times, and stop trying to take each other's talent and clients. At least try to figure out a détente there so that collectively you could do the things that you both are talking about and trying to resist the administration.
But one more point. The other thing I think the clients of these firms have to worry about is the built-in conflict of interest now, right? These firms have indicated they are worried significantly about their own survival, their own interest. The partners in these firms have their own interest now that is arguably going to conflict with the interests of clients who are not always going to be, on the side of the administration. And I guess if you're not willing to fight when it's the First Amendment is right. In my view, that is the strongest constitutional argument we have to make. On the security clearances, the administration may have the right to revoke these security clearances. And the orders that have been in favor of these law firms have carved that out and said, we're not going to give you an injunction on that right now. But I don't know. I want to be on your side of this, but I can't get there.
It is a catastrophe for the legal profession, I think.